I transmigrated into a novel, killed the child of fortune, and advanced to the great Luo Golden Immortal realm. For the next mission, the system gave me two choices. 1. Ascend to the heavenly realm and win over the #1 beauty fairy change. 2. Return to Blue Star and win over the cold female lead, Liu Ruyan. I couldn't make up my mind for a long time, but that damn system automatically picked the second one for me. The system wanted me to simp for Ruyan, but I deliberately did the opposite. Tested up a divorce, faked my death, and made Ruyan go through a full-blown wife-chasing crematorium. To avenge me, she hunted down her white moonlight across thousands of miles, fought the heavenly rankings alone, and soloed an SS rank Onmyoji system host. If you still don't act, Liu Ruyan is really going to die. Me. Shut up. When I woke up again, I saw a crowd of men and women, old and young, gathered around me, pointing and whispering. What? Isn't this Liu Ruyan's simp husband? Is he trying to kill himself again? This guy jumped from the 17th floor and still isn't dead. If the clothes rack hadn't slowed him down, and if he hadn't hit that awning, he'd have been smashed into a pulp by now. I looked up, and sure enough, there was a human-shaped hole in the awning, with quite a few clothes hanging on it. Sigh. The kid doesn't look bad either. Why'd he have to become a simp? I got up from the ground, ignored the mocking and sneers from the crowd, and went straight back to the apartment on the 17th floor. That night, Liu Ruyan came back with a dark expression. Lin Jian, how long are you going to keep this up? I've told you so many times. Shu Yun and I grew up together. I only see him as a little brother. What exactly are you jealous of? You're not allowed to threaten me with suicide again, and you're definitely not allowed to make a scene in front of Shu Yun anymore. Otherwise, I won't let you off. The killing intent in my heart just couldn't be suppressed. Damn! System! Can I slap her to death with one palm? The system's mechanical voice rang out. No, otherwise, the Conquest mission will fail, and the host will be erased. Damn! You! System! I had no choice but to pull out some of the original host's memories. The original host, Lin Jian, fell in love with Liu Ruyan at first sight in college. After that, he went into full-on crazy bootlicker mode. Anywhere Liu Ruyan appeared, Lin Jian would be there too. He sent flowers every day and even came up with all kinds of ways to deliver loving breakfasts. As for gifts, he gave so many his hands practically went numb. But Liu Ruyan had never given him a kind look, and even her group of friends mocked him to the extreme whenever they saw him, until one day, when Lin Jian went to Liu Ruyan's house to find her, he discovered she was gravely injured. She had 13 fatal wounds all over her body. Lin Jian panicked and called the emergency number immediately. At the hospital, even the doctors said Liu Ruyan was beyond saving and told him to prepare for her funeral. Helpless, Lin Jian carried Liu Ruyan out of the hospital and went overnight to find Shui Shenye, a famous old traditional doctor in Haishi. He knelt outside the door and kowtowed all night before finally begging Shui Shenye to help. Liu Ruyan actually came back to life miraculously. Moved by Lin Jian's kindness, Liu Ruyan offered to fulfill any one request of his. Without the slightest hesitation, Lin Jian said he wanted to marry her. Liu Ruyan kept her promise and agreed. After marriage, their life together wasn't exactly sweet, but they did treat each other with mutual respect. Sadly, the good times didn't last long. Liu Ruyan's childhood sweetheart, Shu Yun, came back to the country and became her assistant, and Lin Jian's nightmare began. Liu Ruyan was the CEO of a publicly listed biopharmaceutical company. After marriage, Lin Jian was mainly responsible for taking care of her daily life. He brought loving lunches to her company every day, but gradually, Liu Ruyan stopped letting him deliver them to her office and told him to just leave them at the front desk, and the portion had to be doubled. Lin Jian gradually became suspicious, and one day, ignoring the front desk's attempts to stop him, he forced his way into her office, only to discover Liu Ruyan and Shu Yun eating the loving lunch he had personally made while flirting and joking around. When Liu Ruyan saw Lin Jian, not only did she not panic, she coldly scolded him instead. Who let you in? Don't you know you should knock before coming in? You really have no manners at all. Liu Ruyan called security and heartlessly had him thrown out. Shu Yun looked at him smugly, full of disdain. At the time, the entire company was watching him make a fool of himself. After that, Lin Jan never brought loving lunches again. Lin Jan sulked for a few days. Then, Liu Ruyan coaxed him with just a few words. In the days that followed, Liu Ruyan gave almost all her free time to Xu Yun and became more and more impatient with the original host. On their wedding anniversary, Liu Ruyan took Xu Yun on a business trip out of town. On Valentine's Day, Liu Ruyan was taking Xu Yun to a ball when the original host had a high fever of over 104 degrees. Liu Ruyan drove him to the hospital, only to abandon him on the roadside because of a single phone call from Xu Yun. Last night had been the original host's birthday. He had carefully prepared a lavish candlelit dinner and bought flowers and red wine. But even at midnight, Liu Ruyan still hadn't come home. Instead, Xu Yun sent him a photo of himself and Liu Ruyan drinking a lover's toast at a bar. A bunch of Liu Ruyan's besties were clapping and cheering beside them. The original host was completely heartbroken, and that was why he jumped from the rooftop. Fuck! This original host really was a complete and utter simp. What I hate the most is simps. That damn system definitely did this on purpose. The original host had faked suicide a few times before, but Liu Ruyan had seen through it every time. Only this time was real. I looked at the gloomy Liu Ruyan and finally forced down the killing intent. Liu Ruyan, let's get a divorce. The system instantly overheated. Host, your mission is to conquer her. Once the mission fails, the system will erase you. You'd better think this through. I replied, in my mind irritably. The original host simped for the female lead for so many years and still couldn't win her heart. If he kept simping, he'd end up with his heart and kidneys carved out. Don't worry. Damn. System. I know what I'm doing. Liu Ruyan stared at me in disbelief, her eyes full of anger. You really want to divorce me? I looked at her in confusion. Liu Ruyan, isn't this exactly what you want? Since your eyes are full of Xu Yun, I'll take the initiative to bow out and give him my place. What else are you unhappy about? Liu Ruyan looked at me for a long time. Once she finally confirmed I wasn't joking, a trace of panic flashed through her eyes. For once, she patiently explained herself to me. Lin Jan, my relationship with Xu Yun really isn't what you think. I have my reasons. Stop throwing a tantrum. I sat on the sofa, lifted my eyes, and looked at her calmly. I'm serious. Liu Ruyan, I'm choosing to let you go and let myself go too. Liu Ruyan grew angry. Lin Jan, do you think using divorce means you can control me? I'm telling you, this trick won't work on me. Think it through. If you really divorce me, there won't be the slightest room for regret anymore. I looked at her with ridicule. What? Don't tell me you're unwilling to divorce me. Liu Ruyan clenched her fists tightly. Fine. Lin Jan, I'll grant your wish. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. As I left, I gave Liu Ruyan a meaningful glance. Her strength was comparable to a tribulation crossing cultivator's, and she had a divine phoenix physique, the kind seen once in 10,000 years. As expected of the female lead, no wonder she hadn't died back then, despite suffering 13 fatal wounds. So, she'd turned disaster into fortune and undergone nirvana. This blue star really wasn't as simple as it looked on the surface. The next day, Liu Ruyan and I stood in line at the Civil Affairs Bureau to get divorced. She glanced at me. Don't you have anything you want to say to me? I looked at her in confusion and blinked. Yes, of course, I do. Liu Ruyan narrowed her eyes. What? What? I earnestly took her hand and smiled brightly. Well, let's part on good terms. Ex-wife. The staff member at the Civil Affairs Bureau looked up and gave us both a surprised look. Liu Ruyan's face darkened. Again, Lin Jan, stop playing these hard-to-get games with me. I'm telling you, if you regret it now, it's still not too late. Otherwise, even if you kneel in front of me, crying and begging me later, I still won't turn back. I pretended to look deeply reluctant. Ruyan, let's just leave it at this. Rather than tormenting each other, we might as well let each other go. Once I'm gone, no one will ever get in the way of you and Xu Yun being together again. Liu Ruyan looked at me blankly, and there was actually reluctance in her eyes. I reminded her several times before she finally snapped back to herself. Hurry up and fill out the forms. The staff is getting impatient. Liu Ruyan kept a cold face and said nothing as she continued filling out the paperwork. She wrote very slowly, and conflicted emotions flashed across her face from time to time, but she still completed the entire divorce process. The staff member stamped the form. Come back after the 1-month cooling-off period to collect your divorce certificate. As soon as we stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Xu Yun hurried over. This guy really was a lingering ghost. I ran into him everywhere. Haha. Another expert, comparable to a tribulation crossing cultivator, looks like even if the original host hadn't killed himself, Xu Yun would have toyed him to death sooner or later. What are you doing here? Liu Ruyan looked at Xu Yun in surprise, her gaze gentle. You said you were getting divorced today. I happened to be passing by, so I came to take a look. Xu Yun stepped in front of Liu Ruyan and looked at me teasingly. At least you know your place. You knew to leave on your own and save yourself the humiliation. We're not divorced yet. We're still in the marriage cooling-off period. Liu Ruyan suddenly spoke up and continued. The divorce certificate hasn't been processed yet. The staff said that if we regret it during the cooling-off period, we can still withdraw it. Xu Yun looked at Liu Ruyan in shock. I was stunned, too, no matter how I heard it. Those words sounded like she was defending me. When Xu Yun looked at me again, there was a trace of killing intent in his gaze. His face darkened as he reached for Liu Ruyan's hand, but Liu Ruyan glanced at me guiltily and instinctively dodged. Xu Yun froze for a moment, awkwardly withdrew his hand, then changed course and picked up Liu Ruyan's bag for her instead. Let's go. Liu Ruyan still didn't move. She just stared at me fixedly. I said calmly, I won't regret it. Only then did Liu Ruyan leave with a cold face. I was standing outside the Civil Affairs Bureau trying to hail a cab. Suddenly, a silver Maserati stopped beside me. I looked over and saw a beautiful woman in a baseball cap and sunglasses waving at me. Even though only half her face was visible, she was still breathtakingly beautiful. Brother Lin John, hurry up and get in. Jiang Ning, the top diva of Long Kingdom's music scene, had grown up with the original host in the same orphanage since childhood. She had always kept in touch with him. It was also through chatting with me on social media last night that she found out I was getting divorced today. Without the slightest hesitation, I opened the car door and got in. She looked at me with a complicated expression. Brother Lin John, do you really not love Liu Ruyan anymore? I smiled freely. Of course, it's true. She's not the only woman in the world. Only then did Jiang Ning cheer up, and her eyes curved into crescents. Exactly. Liu Ruyan only dares to be so unrestrained because she knows you like her. What's so great about her, anyway? She's just an old woman, and she's not even prettier than me. I echoed her words. Exactly. Next time I look for someone, he'll find a big star, someone prettier than her, with a better figure than her, and more famous than her, too. I tell piss her off to death. Jiang Ning weakly added one sentence. Brother, you aren't talking about me, are you? I quickly coughed a few times to ease the awkwardness. Jiang Ning looked at me with a red face. Brother Lin John, just call me by my name from now on. Don't call me little sister anymore. We're not related by blood. You still call me little sister, like when we were kids. And it sounds weird. As she spoke, her voice got lower and lower. I looked Jiang Ning up and down and realized that now that she'd fully grown up, this girl was truly the kind of beauty that brings disaster. That face and that figure were absolutely top tier. System. Can I switch to a different conquest target? System. Get lost. Okay. Just like that. I moved into Jiang Ning's villa. Actually, Liu Ruyan had been fairly generous to the original host over the years. There was close to 10 million in spending money on his bank card, so I definitely wasn't going to worry about money. The next day, Jiang Ning stubbornly insisted that I go shopping with her. She had herself wrapped up so tightly that even I couldn't recognize her. I laughed and teased her. You're not that young anymore, so why don't you get a boyfriend? Then you'd have someone to go shopping with you. Jiang Ning muttered softly. Aren't I already working hard on dating one? You blockhead. You little brat. You actually dared to curse me behind my back. I smacked the top of her head. Jiang Ning jumped up guiltily and looked at me, puffing up in anger. Who? Sat. Wati. Who cursed You, brother, Lin John. Don't wrong. A good person. Looking at her flushed red ears, I couldn't help thinking, I wonder if fairy change is this cute too. When Jiang Ning saw me spacing out, she unhappily punched me. Brother, Lin John. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about Liu Ruyan again? A woman's intuition really is accurate. She could even tell something was off just from me thinking about fairy change. Of course, I flatly denied it. I don't care. I finally managed to free up a little time to rest, so you have to devote yourself to keeping me company. I shook my head helplessly. Fine, fine, fine. I really can't do anything with you. That's more like it. Jiang Ning tossed her bag to me, put her hands on her hips, and walked proudly in front with a smug look on her face. Jiang Ning only stayed in Haishi for 2 days before flying away again. Before she left, she fiercely warned me not to go around fooling with other women. Not long after she left, Liu Ruyan called me. Liu Ruyan, we're already divorced. So, why are you calling me? What? Are you trying to tell me how happy you and Shu Yun are? Hearing my sarcasm and mockery, Liu Ruyan unusually didn't get angry. There are still a lot of your things at home. When are you planning to come and take them? I said, flatly. Throw them away. You know me. I've never liked holding on to the past. The other end was silent for a few seconds before she coldly said, what about your most treasured ring? You're not planning to take that either. The ring. I froze for a moment. Once she reminded me, I remembered. It was the ring from the original host's marriage to Liu Ruyan. When they had their worst argument, Liu Ruyan had thrown it away, and it had taken the original host a full 3 days to find it again. My tone stayed cold. We're already divorced. I don't want to keep that thing either. Do whatever you want with it. The other end fell silent for a few more seconds. Lin John, how many times do I have to tell you? There is really nothing between me and Shu Yun. I didn't want to argue with her. So, I said, I see a lead. Anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. The other end was silent for a long time. No. Then, I'm hanging up. You, wait. Just as I was about to hang up, Liu Ruyan stopped me. After the cooling off period ends, we have to go get the divorce certificate together. Don't forget. I got irritated. Liu Ruyan, I already said, I won't regret it. You don't need to call me just to emphasize that on purpose. As soon as I finished speaking, I hung up. I sat on the sofa in the villa, tossed my phone aside, and rubbed my brow. Just then, I felt myself being locked onto by killing intent. A cold smile curled at my lips. Hehe. This was getting more and more interesting. Bang! The wall behind my back suddenly exploded. I raised my hand and caught a sniper bullet firmly between 2 fingers, with penetration power that abnormal. It clearly wasn't something an ordinary Blue Star firearm could possess. My figure vanished from where I was. When I reappeared on the sofa, I already had a masked assassin tightly in my grasp. I took off the mask and saw a white man. He looked at me in utter terror, mouth hanging wide open, but he couldn't make a single sound. The sniper rifle in his hand was wrapped in blue energy. I placed my hand on his head and directly read his memories. Haha. So, he was an Esper. No wonder Liu Ruyan and Shu Yun had strength comparable to Tribulation Crossing cultivators. But the location where they stored energy and their cultivation system were completely different from immortal cultivators. This guy was God Renault. The Esper ranked 27th on the heavenly rankings, a mysterious assassin organization. His ability was that sniper rifle. Not only did it have terrifying penetrating power, the bullets could also track targets. Its long-range killing power was astonishing. He had assassinated quite a few top figures across various fields and had never once failed. His weakness was obvious too. He was very weak in close combat. It was said that the top 3 assassins on the heavenly rankings were all top assassins above rank. No one had ever seen their true faces, because everyone who had was already dead. From Renault's memories, I learned that if a heavenly rankings mission failed, they would definitely send someone even stronger next time. Very good. With one wave of my hand, Renault instantly evaporated. Not even a hair was left. For the next few days, I went nowhere and just waited in the villa. Sure enough, on the night of the 3rd day, I sensed 4 figures appearing around the villa. In the east, was a white woman with wings and a golden holy bow. She was Sophia, nicknamed Fallen Angel, ranked 17th on the heavenly rankings. In the west was a black man, ranked 11th on the heavenly rankings, the hypnosis master Martin. To the north was a short Barrett man, ranked 9th on the heavenly rankings, magic flute Kazan, and to the south was Shu Yun, the strongest among all of them, but Renaud's memories had no information on Shu Yun at all. The four of them stayed hidden in the darkness, without moving. After a long while, a strange flute melody faintly began to sound. The flute tune was mysterious and sinister, like the whisper of a devil. Ripples spread across the previously still sewers, and rustling sounds came from countless dark corners. The first rat poked its pointed nose out of a hole, its eyes blood-red and crazed with excitement. Then came the second and the third. Like a black tide, they poured out from cellar cracks, holes in brick walls, the woods, and the sewers. The flute music suddenly grew shrill and intense. The rat swarm went mad, stacking into gray-black waves, and rushed toward the villa at high speed. In only moments, every window and door in the entire villa was smashed apart by the rat tide. Summoning rats was only one of Magic Flute Kazan's abilities. If he were in the wild, he could easily control all wild creatures and form a beast tide. I sat on the sofa, completely surrounded by the rat swarm. Their blood-red eyes stared at me as though they would pounce the next second and tear me to pieces. I screamed in terror on the sofa, trembling all over. The other three waited outside. Only Shu Yun walked in. He looked at me, his eyes full of viciousness. "You damned piece of trash! You've obviously already divorced. So why won't Liu Ruyan accept me? It's all your fault. I was this close to succeeding. Once you're dead, let's see how you can keep fighting me for her. To me, you're just garbage. Crushing you is even easier than crushing an ant." Haha, die, you damned insect! He waved his hand and gave Magic Flute Kazan the order to attack. Don't kill me. The rat tide instantly swallowed me and soon devoured me completely, leaving only tattered clothes and specks of blood behind. My true body was hidden on top of the villa. Invisible, I could feel a powerful force rapidly approaching. It was Liu Ruyan. I recognized her aura immediately. Looks like Shed sensed the fluctuation from the flute just now and rushed over to investigate. Shu Yun and the others sensed Liu Ruyan's aura too and quickly vanished into the darkness. The rat tide retreated frantically and disappeared without a trace in moments. Using an unfamiliar number, I sent Liu Ruyan everything I had just recorded. The aura in the distance clearly halted for a moment, and then a shrill scream rang out. Liu Ruyan quickly appeared inside the villa. She knelt in front of my tattered clothes and burst into loud sobs. "Lin, John, I was wrong. I shouldn't have divorced you. I should have protected you every second. Lin John, I love you. You've always been the one I loved. I deserve to die. It's all my fault. I got you killed. I should have explained everything to you earlier. It's all my fault. Lin John, I was wrong. Come back. Okay. She hugged my pile of tattered clothes and cried so hard it could shake heaven and make ghosts weep. It was absolutely heart-wrenching. Anyone who heard it would be saddened. Anyone who saw it would cry. I took a look at the Conquest progress. Congratulations, host. The Conquest progress for Liu Ruyan has reached 99%. Please keep up the good work. I almost spat out a mouthful of blood. I went through all that effort to fake my death. And you're telling me it's still missing 1%. What if I showed myself right now? Maybe that would do it. After thinking it over, I gave up on that idea. Too risky. If I revealed myself now, there'd be no way to explain it. The progress would very likely plummet instantly, and raising it again would be difficult. I'd have to make a long-term plan and play it by ear. Honestly, I wasn't surprised at all that the completion rate had reached 99%. From the moment I took over the original host's body, the Conquest progress had already been at 66%. That meant Liu Ruyan really did have feelings for the original host. I was confident I couldn't grovel and simp for Liu Ruyan the way the original host had, to such a humiliating degree. If I kept simping, the mission would definitely fail. So I could only do the opposite. At the same time, it was also to verify my previous guess. Sure enough, in the days since the divorce, not only had the Conquest progress not gone down, it had actually risen to 75%. That was why I arranged this fake death. Liu Ruyan cried until she looked like a person made of tears. After a long while, she finally turned toward the direction Shu Yun had retreated in and said, word by word, Shu Yun, I will make sure you die without a burial place and be buried alongside Lin Zhan. Not long after, the sound of police sirens came from outside. Only then did Liu Ruyan vanish from the spot. For a while after that, Liu Ruyan almost turned all of Haishi upside down and still couldn't find any trace of Shu Yun. Shu Yun had probably realized that, on that night, Liu Ruyan had sensed his aura, so he escaped in advance. Jiang Ning rushed back as soon as she received the police notification. The police compared the bloodstains and hair left on the ground with the DNA from my daily items. They confirmed that the deceased was me, Lin Zhan. Jiang Ning put those tattered clothes of mine into a box. She cried for a very, very long time until her eyes were swollen. Every day, she had no appetite for tea or food. Hugging that box, she spoke intermittently about the original host's childhood stories with her. One moment, she cried. The next, she laughed. Her mental state was terrible. She looked utterly haggard and had lost a lot of weight. I sighed, but still didn't show myself. After all, her brother Lin Zhan really had already died long ago. Time is the best medicine to heal all wounds. Some roads she would ultimately have to walk on her own. Fortunately, her manager had been staying by her side, comforting her. Half a month later, Liu Ruyan finally found out that Shu Yan had shown himself in the island nation. She decisively bought a ticket there. I, meanwhile, turned invisible above the plane and followed her to the island nation. The instant I stepped onto the island nation's soil, I sensed an extremely unusual fluctuation. My expression changed slightly. That's the aura of an immortal. I changed my appearance and turned into a tourist, following beside Liu Ruyan. The one accompanying Liu Ruyan was also her assistant. We got onto a sightseeing vehicle. To my surprise, aside from the driver, only the three of us were on it. The sightseeing vehicle drove farther and farther off the main path and eventually entered a small mountain village. The driver brought us to a stop in front of a large courtyard residence. It had red gates and blue tiles, a traditional island nation home. The yard was full of cherry blossom trees, petals falling everywhere. It was incredibly beautiful. Then, the main gate opened, and a person who looked exactly like the original host walked out. Liu Ruyan instantly burst into tears and threw herself into that person's arms. Lin Zhan, I've been looking for you for so long. I lost you. I missed you so much. I was wrong. I'll never treat you like that again. Don't ever leave me again. Okay. This Lin Zhan's eyes were full of tenderness. He wiped the tears from Liu Ruyan's face. Silly girl, how could I blame you? I won't leave you. We'll never be apart for our whole lives. All right, come in. We still have guests. This Lin Zhan gave me a meaningful look and very politely welcomed me and the assistant inside. Only the way he walked was especially stiff. Conquest progress for Liu Ruyan completed. 99.1%, 99.2%. Soon, news that outsiders had come to the village spread throughout the whole place. The villagers all swarmed over to see the guests who had come from afar. The villagers here were all simple and honest, and especially warm. Each of them brought fruit they had grown themselves and homemade fruit wine. Liu Ruyan leaned half against Lin Zhan's arms as the two of them sat on a swing, smiling as they watched the children play hide and seek beneath the cherry trees. I stood on the wooden second floor and looked into the distance. This village was backed by mountains and faced the sea, with cherry trees planted everywhere. Colorful butterflies fluttered all over the sky. At that moment, smoke from cooking fires slowly rose, making the whole place seem especially peaceful. The stream in front of the door was crystal clear, with schools of fish swimming back and forth. If there was ever such a thing as a picture-perfect landscape, this was it. At dinner, Lin Zhan had already prepared a lavish meal. There was every kind of seafood, Kobe beef, golden roasted, suckling pig, and a mouth-watering fragrance that made people lose themselves in it. At night, Lin Zhan arranged for us to soak in hot springs. Once immersed in the springs, it felt like all fatigue and worries vanished. Conquest progress for Liu Ruyan completed 99.5%, 99.6% during the day. The villagers would all go out to sea to fish. They left talking and laughing and came back just as happily. The seafood they caught would be shared with the whole village every weekend evening. The villagers gathered in the village square to sing and dance together. Life was peaceful, like a paradise beyond the world. The three of us didn't even know how long we'd stayed there. We only wanted to live there forever and never leave. Every day, Liu Ruyan and Lin Zhan sat on the swing whispering sweet words and nuzzling each other, wrapped in tender intimacy. Every day, I stood on the wooden second floor and quietly observed them. Conquest progress for Liu Ruyan completed 99.7%, 99.8% until one day, Lin Zhan softly said, beside Liu Ruyan's ear, "Ruyan, let's stay here for the rest of our lives. Okay, let's stop caring about everything outside forever." Okay, Lin Zhan. Listen to whatever you say. Ruyan, stop worrying about that biopharmaceutical company of yours. Write down the medicine formula and hand it to your assistant. Let the assistant handle it from now on. Okay, was. Lin Zhan gently caressed Liu Ruyan's face and said with heartache, "I never want you to work yourself so hard, like before, ever again." Who would have thought Liu Ruyan's expression would change drastically, and she would strike Lin Zhan in the chest with one palm. I cursed that fake Lin Zhan for being an idiot. Couldn't he have waited just a little longer? My conquest progress had stopped dead at 99.9%. Lin Zhan instantly scattered like smoke and turned into a small white paper figure. The entire village slowly disappeared, gradually revealing its original appearance. All the villagers turned into little white paper figures, too. At that moment, we were actually at the foot of the island nation's sacred mountain, surrounded by nothing but wilderness, staring coldly at the pale-faced young man in onmyoji robes standing in midair in the distance. Liu Ruyan said, "So, this is the illusion technique of Mr. An Wantiti, the island nation's SS rank Esper top onmyoji. It's nothing special." Standing beside Mr. and was none other than Xu Yun. There were also three others around us, eyeing us like tigers eyeing prey. I swept them with a casual glance. Judging by Esper rank, all of them were above Srank. If nothing unexpected happened, they should be the top three of the heavenly rankings. One was covered in golden armor, almost like some kind of metal life form. One was a man in black robes, with only blood-red eyes exposed, carrying a death scythe. He looked like the Grim Reaper himself had descended. The last was a Western woman in a long green dress, vines coiled around her body, and all the plants across the wilderness bowed in submission to her. At that moment, Liu Ruyan's assistant was lying motionless on the ground. It seemed she hadn't been able to withstand the mental shock of the illusion collapsing and had fallen into a deep coma. In an extremely short time, I made my decision. I absolutely couldn't act too early. Only if I saved Liu Ruyan when her life was hanging by a thread would it be possible to completely push the progress to 100%. Otherwise, I might be erased by the system for mission failure. Xu Yun stood in midair with a gloomy face. Liu Ruyan, you're chasing me relentlessly over an insect. Is it really worth it? We grew up together. After all, do you really not care about our past at all? Murderous intent fully showed on Liu Ruyan's face. Xu Yun! If all you had done was establish the Heavenly Rankings Assassin Organization, or if all you wanted was the formula from my company for a drug that stimulates Esper awakening, I could still spare your life for the sake of our childhood bond. But you should never have touched him. You must be buried with him. Xu Yun burst into laughter, though there was a trace of loneliness in it. Ruyan, back in Haishi, you only played along with me to lure me into making a move or to lure out the top experts of my heavenly rankings. But toward me, personally, do you really not have even the slightest feeling? Liu Ruyan said righteously. That's right. As the leader of Long Kingdom's espers, I naturally have a duty to eradicate an evil organization like yours. I warned you before not to trouble Lin Zhan. You brought this on yourself. Liu Ruyan, since you're heartless. Don't blame me for being cruel. Did you really think you could walk out of here alive today? As soon as the words fell, the 5 of them erupted with earth-shaking auras. Powerful energy waves spread out like a raging tsunami. All the wild beasts and birds near the sacred mountains sensed the danger immediately and fled frantically toward the outer area. Liu Ruyan turned to look at me. Even though you followed me all the way here, I can feel that you don't have any ill intentions toward me. Hurry and run for your life. A battle at this level isn't something you can take part in. Without any hesitation, I picked up Liu Ruyan's beautiful little assistant and ran out of the battle zone, then found a suitable spot to watch. Among those 5 enemies, I was treated like a total nobody. They couldn't even be bothered to look at me. Liu Ruyan burned like the sun, crimson flames coiling all around her body, until even the air began to distort. A longsword, formed from flames, suddenly appeared in her hand. A world-shaking battle erupted. Countless vines grew wildly, soaring into the sky like giant pythons and sweeping toward Liu Ruyan. Over 100 ghostly figures swirled around the black-robed man, baleful energy surging to the heavens as they pounced at Liu Ruyan at once. The man in golden armor leaped into the sky with a giant sword in hand. Golden sword light dozens of feet long seemed about to split the void as it crashed down. Shu Yun transformed even more into a god of thunder, countless bolts wrapping around him. Thunder exploded in broad daylight, and giant streaks of lightning interwove into a net that descended from the sky. Only the white-robed Onmyoji, Mr. N, remained motionless, standing quietly in midair with an arrogant expression, as if looking down on the whole world. Liu Ruyan moved, leaving after images where she stood as she continuously flashed and dodged. Boom, boom, boom. One giant bolt of lightning after another crashed into the ground. The earth trembled violently. The ground split open instantly, and huge cracks spread in all directions. The giant golden sword smashed into the earth and split out a massive crater dozens of feet deep. The entire sacred mountain shook. The snow at the summit melted rapidly. Giant rocks tumbled down. Plumes of smoke burst from the volcano's crater, and the air became scorching hot. Liu Ruyan broke out of the encirclement at once and gave a sharp shout. Blazing flames burn the heavens. She swung her flaming longsword, and flames filled the sky as they crashed down. Everything within dozens of miles instantly became a sea of fire. The giant pythons formed from vines ignited instantly, letting out waves of pained hissing. The 100 ghostly figures summoned by the black-robed man were swallowed by flames and shrieked miserably. The melee exploded again. Deafening crashes never ceased, and the ground shook as the mountains trembled. The brilliant light produced by the collision between blazing fire and giant lightning made even the sun seem dim. The entire sacred mountain trembled, and rolling magma was already overflowing from the crater. Though Liu Ruyan was powerful, she was still outnumbered in the end. Time and again, she was smashed into the earth, and time and again, she shot back into the sky. Her blood and chi churned violently. She had already suffered serious internal injuries. Right then, a group of espers flew over at high speed. Long Kingdom Esper Squad. 1 greets Commander Liu. Long Kingdom Esper Squad. 2 greets Commander Liu. As dozens of Long Kingdom espers joined the battle, the pressure on Liu Ruyan instantly lessened. She broke away from the battle and flew straight toward the island nation Onmyoji. Mr. N, you've helped evil do evil today. Please rest in peace. A disdainful smile rose at the corner of Mr. N's lips. Overestimating yourself. Immediately after, tens of thousands of little paper figures peeled off from Mr. N's body and covered the sky like a storm of feathers as they rushed toward Liu Ruyan. Every little paper figure was like a giant bomb and could even ignore Liu Ruyan's blazing flames burn the heavens. These little paper figures broke through the blockade of flames and directly locked onto Liu Ruyan's true body. In an instant, Liu Ruyan was shrouded by the shadow of death. Commander Liu. Of course, the members of those Esper squads could see that Liu Ruyan had already fallen into a life and death crisis, but there was nothing they could do to save her. Liu Ruyan dodged most of the paper figures' attacks, but she was still struck by more than a dozen of them. Boom! Boom! All the little paper figures in the sky exploded, and thick smoke rolled out, blotting out the sun. Liu Ruyan was blasted like a cannonball, straight into the volcano's magma. Commander Liu. Avenge Commander Liu. Kill! Those Esper squad members all went redade and desperately unleashed their strongest attacks. Aside from Shu Yun, the other top three heavenly rankings existences finally couldn't hold on any longer. Their bodies began to collapse. Everyone thought Liu Ruyan was doomed and had most likely died in battle. At that moment, leaders all over the world were watching this world-shaking battle through satellites. They all began re-evaluating the power of espers. Some low-rank espers in the surrounding area were even live-streaming this unprecedented battle. At first, people thought it was a movie shoot. Only later, after some professionals explained it, did everyone realize in horror that this was a real battle between espers. This was also the first time espers had fully stepped into the spotlight and been exposed to ordinary people's sight. What had just happened completely overturned everyone's understanding of the world. Are these people even human? Has the world gone crazy? Or have I gone crazy? This is unbelievable. It's like we've returned to the age of mythology. What's happening to Blue Star? Is this still the Blue Star we live on? This is on the level of an epic blockbuster. It's too shocking. Babe, get online right now. Something huge just happened on Blue Star. This legendary live stream spread across the world like a hurricane. Ordinary people who had no idea what was going on got the news, went completely dumbfounded, and hurried online to watch the battle. More and more people joined in, watching the live stream as their emotions rose and fell with the fight. Soon after, the identities of all the espers were dug up, especially the scene of Onmyoji Mr. and battling Liu Ruyan stirred everyone's emotions to the limit. The entire island nation erupted in cheers. All of Long Kingdom was worried sick over Liu Ruyan. Oh, no. Liu Ruyan was hit head-on by the SSS Onmyoji and fell into the volcano. This time, Liu Ruyan's life is uncertain. She may have died in battle. Only I knew that not only was Liu Ruyan not dead, her aura was still climbing steadily. A moment later, a clear phoenix cry suddenly rang through the clouds. A gigantic phoenix surged up from the volcano crater with a heaven-shaking aura. People living within hundreds of miles all saw this astonishing scene. The volcano fully erupted. The earth shook violently as if a sleeping giant beast had suddenly awakened. Boom! With a world-shaking roar, the crater suddenly exploded open, and magma mixed with scorching heat blasted out with overwhelming force. Red-hot lava surged everywhere. Wherever it passed, trees and grass ignited instantly and turned to ash. Volcanic ash and thick black smoke shot straight into the sky, blotting out the heavens. Howling volcanic gas carried giant stones that flew in every direction like cannonballs, smashing heavily into the ground and forming one huge crater after another. A scene like the apocalypse was laid before the whole world. What? That's the legendary Phoenix. This world has gone insane. My God, what am I seeing? This is mythology returning to life. Liu Ruyan's ability is the Fire Phoenix. Liu Ruyan isn't dead. She's become even stronger. So this is what espers are like. They're too powerful. The enormous divine Fire Phoenix was as fast as lightning, and her eyes carried supreme majesty. She spat out a mouthful of flames and completely engulfed Shu Yun. Shu Yun had already been seriously injured from being besieged by so many experts. Now, once touched by divine fire, his whole body instantly ignited. Even his soul was burning, and he let out shrill screams. Liu Ruyan no longer paid attention to Shu Yun, and instead dove straight at Onmyoji Mr. And, with flames filling the sky, she spread her huge wings, covering the heavens and the sun. Like an ancient deity descending to the world, panic finally appeared in Mr. An's eyes. Feathers across the sky. Over 100,000 little paper figures peeled off from Mr. An's body and crazily surged toward the divine phoenix bird. Liu Ruyan directly ignored the little paper figures. Even when all 100,000 exploded on her body, they only slowed her dive and failed to break through her divine fire defense. Without the slightest hesitation, Mr. and transformed into a gigantic white paper divine crane and turned to flee. Cry. Liu Ruyan opened her mouth and let out another clear phoenix cry. Immediately afterward, a giant fireball shot from her mouth, dragging a long flaming tail. It distorted space itself with its scorching temperature. The fireball arrived in an instant and directly hit the white paper divine crane. Boom! The white paper divine crane was instantly wrapped in flames on Myoji, Mr. and reverted to his true body, and his whole body was burning. He let out a shrill scream, and then his eyes turned incomparably venomous. Liu Ruyan, you forced me to do this. His hands rapidly formed seals, and mysterious runes covered the entire sky. Then, the gate of the void opened wide, guided by my bloodline. I beseech an immortal to descend. Mother, save me. As soon as Mr. and finished speaking, a colossal nine-tailed fox, demon, huge as a snow mountain, slowly stepped out through the gate of the void. I lifted my eyes to look at the nine-tailed fox demon and muttered, the power of an immortal. I knew Liu Ruyan was in grave danger. Liu Ruyan might be very strong, but she still hadn't reached the immortal realm. She wasn't the fox demon's opponent. The nine-tailed fox demon radiated the majesty of an immortal, sacred and untouchable. Its nine tails looked agile and light, but every movement twisted the void. Her eyes held a cold indifference that looked down on all living beings. With just a single glance at Mr. N, the flames on his body vanished into nothing. Live streams all over the world exploded. A legendary ancient great demon had actually appeared right in front of everyone. It all felt unbelievably unreal. All of Long Kingdom fell into shock. This is a nine-tailed fox demon. Su Daji. This is too crazy. Could ancient myths actually be real? It's an enemy, not a friend. Liu Ruyan is done for this time. With a furious roar from the nine-tailed fox demon, the winds and clouds changed color, and heaven and earth trembled. A mere insect dares oppose an immortal. I slept for 1,000 years, only to be disturbed by you pests. You deserve death. Liu Ruyan's fighting spirit soared, and she showed no fear at all. Divine fire burns the heavens. As the giant phoenix cried out, boundless divine fire gushed from her mouth, filling the entire sky as if to burn everything in existence. But to everyone's shock, before the nine-tailed fox demon, that phoenix divine fire melted away like snow and vanished completely in no time. The nine-tailed fox demon's huge body suddenly disappeared. When it appeared again, it was already right in front of the giant phoenix. Liu Ruyan was struck by the fox demon's tail and smashed straight into the sacred mountain. Boom! The entire sacred mountain was smashed in half, and endless magma surged upward in reverse. The divine fire phoenix shot into the sky again, only to be sent flying once more. Boom, boom, boom. 9 times in a row. The entire sacred mountain had already been reduced to flat ground, and magma spread across 100 miles like a sea. The divine fire phoenix let out repeated mournful cries. Feathers fell, wings broke, and she could no longer fly. Everyone knew that Liu Ruyan was already at the end of her rope. The battle strength of this ancient great demon is terrifying to this extent. Liu Ruyan can't even fight back at all. It's over. Liu Ruyan is completely done for this time. If this great demon goes berserk, who in this world could stop it? This is way too terrifying. Everyone in the live stream was stunned, speechless. The rapid depletion of energy had already made her unable to maintain the divine fire phoenix form, and she changed back into human form. She lay on the magma, barely alive, her eyes filled with despair. A mere insect. Overestimating yourself. Be destroyed. The snow mountain-sized nine-tailed fox demon opened its giant mouth, and a black energy sphere condensed from demonic power locked onto the heavily injured Liu Ruyan and shot straight at her. Liu Ruyan murmured, I going to die. System. Host. If you still don't act, Liu Ruyan is really going to die. Me. Shut up. I changed back into Lin Zhan's appearance and directly stood in front of Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan's pupils contracted sharply, and she screamed in despair. No, since dying once wasn't enough, then I'd die in front of her one more time. I smiled at her and spoke gently. Ruyan, live, well. The energy sphere filled with destructive power hit me directly, and right in front of Liu Ruyan. I exploded and was completely annihilated. Lin Zhan. No. Conquest progress for Liu Ruyan completed 100%. The livestream audience was completely stunned by this scene. Wait, Who the hell is that guy? Looking at Liu Ruyan's despair. That has to be the man she loves deeply. This is Liu Ruyan's husband, Lin Zhan. He used to be Liu Ruyan's simp. That Lin Zhan was so damn cool just now. He actually blocked that fatal attack for Liu Ruyan. How deeply in love would someone have to be to do something like that? Woo. I wanna cry. How can there be a man this devoted in the world? If any man were willing to do this for me, dying would be worth it. Jiang Ning stared blankly at me on the live stream, then instantly broke down in tears. Brother, Lin Zhan, it's over. It's over. So what if that guy blocked this attack? Liu Ruyan is still definitely going to die. Sure enough. The nine-tailed fox demon had already formed a second black energy sphere, full of destructive power. But to everyone's shock, Lin Zhan, who had just vanished like smoke, wasn't dead. He came back to life again. I stood in front of the mountain like nine-tailed fox demon, tiny as an ant, but at that moment, my aura was like a giant holding up heaven and earth. Tears still wet on Liu Ruyan's face. She stared blankly at me in midair. There was a trace of infatuation in her eyes, along with a trace of confusion. The moment the nine-tailed fox demon saw me, ferocity burst from its eyes, and the second black energy sphere had already been fired. You lowly insect. Die. Oh, really? I simply reached out with one hand, and that black energy sphere landed in my grasp. I tossed it into the sky. Boom. The black energy sphere exploded at once, like a firework magnified countless times, brilliant and beautiful to the extreme. A little firework to celebrate completing the mission. My figure vanished, and when I appeared again, I already had one of the nine-tailed fox demon's tails in my hand. A scene that made the whole world's jaws drop happened. I actually swung that mountain-sized nine-tailed fox demon up into the air. Ah, damned insect. Damned my ass. Boom, boom, boom. With every swing, another mountain range was smashed apart. For a while, mountains collapsed, the earth split, and rocks shot into the sky. It was violence at its most beautiful. This is too brutal. Is this guy even human? Holy shit. This is unbelievable. It's like an ant swinging an elephant around. Haha. Yellow and violent. But I like it. Jiang Ning, who had been crying her eyes out just now, had her mouth open in a perfect O. This is my brother, Lin Zhan. Shu Yun, who still had one last breath left in him, stared blankly at all this, his mind completely empty. The nine-tailed fox demon was finally terrified and kept begging for mercy. Thekun, mortal lord, spare me. Immortal lord, I know I was wrong. Please, spare me just this once. Immortal lord, stop. We can talk this out. As long as you spare me, I'm willing to serve you for life. It would have been better if she hadn't said that. The moment she did, my temper exploded. I slammed her deep into the ground. Fuck, your son's already this old, and you're still talking about serving me. You old woman. That one line of mine sent the whole livestream into total chaos. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. I gradually lost interest in playing around. In the end, with one final punch, I directly blew up the nine-tailed fox demon, body and soul destroyed, gone like smoke and scattered into nothing. At the same time, I casually sent Onmyoji Mr. and on his way too. I came in front of Shu Yun and looked down at him from above, my eyes full of ridicule. To me, you're just garbage. Crushing you is even easier than crushing an ant. Those were the exact words he had said to me back then. I returned them to him word for word. Shu Yun's eyes were full of terror as he begged over and over. No, Lin Zhan, it's all my fault. Please, spare me. I'm garbage. I'm trash. I was wrong. No. In his incomparably desperate gaze, I casually pointed one finger, and his whole body exploded into a cloud of blood mist and dissipated into the air. My simple, savage fighting style made the whole world's blood boil. The entire internet exploded into frenzy. Cheers broke out everywhere, especially all across Long Kingdom, where everyone celebrated and spread the news excitedly. Only the whole island nation wailed in grief. Since the SS rank Onmyoji had been one of their people, since the nine-tailed fox demon was Mr. Anne's mother, they naturally counted her as one of their own too. I altered the gene sequence in my body and turned it into my original body's genes. Then I slowly walked to Liu Ruyan and picked her up. She wrapped her arms tightly around me as if afraid I would disappear. Lin Zhan, don't leave me again. Okay. Oh man, that's a tough one. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have completed the mission of conquering Liu Ruyan and advanced to the Immortal King realm. Next, mission choices. 1. Ascend to the Immortal realm and conquer the #1 beauty. Fairy change. 2. Cripple your own cultivation and switch to practicing the sunflower manual. Fuck you damn dog system.